Welcome back to Local Decision. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rusty Ray, and I'm joined now by candidate for Blaine Mayor, Tim Sanders. Tim, welcome back.
Thanks, Rusty. Thanks for having me back.
You got it. We were here just a couple of months ago ahead of the primaries, and we talked then about your experience at the State House, 8 years as a representative, ending in 2016.
Correct.
And in that experience and now running for this office, and especially since the primaries, what has that been like? What are you hearing from people? What are you doing to interact with folks, especially given the challenges of COVID and all that?
Yeah, so I think that obviously times have completely changed since 2016, both on the campaign trail and the issues that we're dealing with. I will say it's a much different approach in running a nonpartisan race, and I actually really appreciate it. It gives you such a great opportunity to talk to people, and the issues that are facing Blaine are not Republican or Democrat issues. They're issues that affect all of us and how we live our lives, and frankly shouldn't really be that political. And so, we're doing everything we can to still meet with voters and talk with them as much as we can in person, and certainly over the phone and email and messenger and all of those different ways, any way to connect with people, to hear what's important to them, to hear what issues they want to see tackled, and to hear their vision for Blaine. And we're finding in a lot of ways that the vision that we have for Blaine is lining up with where many residents want to go.
You've talked a lot about, and you've written about and provided information that we've posted at northmetrotv.com, a lot about Highway 65.
Correct.
And certainly your experience in St. Paul bears that process and understanding that it's not just a city thing to fix and not just a county thing. Obviously the state is a major part of that, and the state has just recently put out some conceptualized things for people to look at, some different options, some of them kind of complicated for intersections, but they're involving folks who use 65 on a daily basis as much as possible. How important do you think that is to this process? Because everybody, again, has something to say about 65. They may come to you, they may come to folks who are currently in office about it. What can you say about what the state is doing and has done to this point?
Well, I think that we're in a good spot right now of being able to have that discussion in a very tangible way. We now have examples and we have options that need to be evaluated, and we need the people of Blaine and the people in the North Metro to give us feedback on that so that we don't just get a solution, but we get the right solution. We've seen north of Blaine on Highway 65 where intersections have been changed and they're actually more lethal now than before. And so just getting a solution to say we did something is not the approach that we need to take. And we really need the right solution. So we need people to weigh in. And I think people are starting to do that, and we're trying to help engage people in that process as well. But it's something that I hear about every day, and it's something I talk about every day, because it's really an issue that impacts almost everything else we do in Blaine. And the next mayor has to be that leader that understands, yes, it's not just a city issue, and it's not one that we can pay for as a city, but we need a leader that can go to the state and tell the story and do what we need to do to get the funding needed to make those improvements, to make Highway 65 safe and efficient. And the same way going to the federal government as well. And building that coalition to make sure that this happens. Every single day, cars are getting pushed off of Highway 65 onto residential roads and to neighborhoods because it's faster than a highway right now. And that makes everything unsafe in our city. So it's one of the most important issues facing us, and I certainly am willing to help be the leader and bring that home.
Certainly to be an advocate for the city, and certainly, as you said, to reach up the chain of command, if you want to call it that, or up the chain of power in the state to make these things happen. But are there other things? You mentioned the side streets and the other infrastructure surrounding. Are there anything else that you can point to that the city can do once the state says this is what we're going to do, or this is when we're going to do it? Is there anything else specific or concrete, no pun intended, to say what the city can do regarding this moving forward?
Well, I think the big thing is making sure that we are driving towards the results that we want. And that's what we have to do. We have to continue to put the pressure on the state, the federal government, those in elected office at all levels, the citizenry, the businesses, and make sure that the project stays on task and that we're getting the results that we need. So really, it is staying involved from now all the way through completion, and then making sure that it's the results that we want and we need, and we're not getting like what happened north of us here, where we have a worse result just because we tried to do something. So it is making sure that we get the right solution right now. We engage the citizens of Blaine, and we stay involved until we get the results we need.
Speaking of transportation or mass transit, thinking about Anoka County is recently surveying folks about what they think about mass transit options in the county. There's the Northtown Transit Center, the bus transit center, and then there's the park and rides on 35 and other places. Is there other opportunities you think? Of course, that's a Met Council thing, and that's something that has to come out of the cities, basically to the outer suburbs. But are there more options for mass transit in the city of Blaine that could connect people and could maybe utilize an improved Highway 65 down the road? Are there options there available?
I think that needs to be a data-driven decision, and really, so when we look at mass transit, one thing that's interesting in Blaine, we are really in the North Metro, we are suburb to suburb commuters, and that's the way that it has been. So what works so well in places like Chicago and Washington, D.C., is you have the mass of people going to kind of one destination. You're going to one city center, one area. We don't necessarily have that right now. So do we have the numbers that would give us the return on investment we need for investing in mass transit? If we do, then we've seen it work very well in other cities and other places. I don't know. We just have to see if the data dictates that. I do know that our park and ride off of 35W in Radisson or Naples over there is very large park and ride, gets a lot of folks. So we know that there's the desire there. Does it make sense with the routes and with busing? Does it make sense for the routes for trains and other issues? Data-driven decision that needs to be looked at.
We talk about projects like Crown Iron Works and relocating or expanding businesses in the city of Blaine and drawing those people, like you said, suburb to suburb instead of into the Twin Cities. Are there other opportunities there, both to diversify a tax base and to bring in more revenue that way, to bring industry into the city that's kind of responsible in hearing what residents want to say? They may want to see a new grocery store on Lexington Avenue or another couple of restaurants over that way. But you've also got to look at tenants and owners like Crown Iron Works to bring into the city. Are there opportunities you see there?
Absolutely. And it's a both and equation. We need great amenities for our residents, shopping, restaurants. We need all of that. We need, I think, more hotels. We need the amenities. We also need the jobs. And I would be pursuing and being aggressive in trying to help bring some high wage, high growth opportunities to Blaine. And that does something as well. It helps keep traffic off of Highway 65, right? If we can bring the jobs to Blaine, we won't have to have as much of the traffic congestion if we have that here. So, I mean, listen, if we can pursue high wage, high growth industries like biotech, medtech, maybe even clean energy, some of the other industries that are out there, we're open for business. We want to make sure that people know that, especially as we've seen with so much difficulty facing businesses downtown Minneapolis right now. For those that are looking to relocate or looking at their options, man, Blaine is a great place, and we want them to really evaluate and be in conversation with those businesses and amenities that, Blaine could be home.
What are you hearing about from folks about what the city has done with COVID, and do you feel like there has been anything pushed aside? Obviously, COVID is something that has to be addressed, and the city's received its money and is dispersing some of that money, the federal funding, the CARES Act money, to businesses to kind of support them. I think a few dozen at this point or something like that. But do you get the sense that there's anything that COVID has pushed back that the city needs to address sooner rather than later? Anything that was before the city, an ongoing project, or continuing to examine budget? Obviously, there's budget shortfalls to deal with, and there's going to be revenue shortfalls after this that could have long-term effects and ramifications. Is there anything that the city should be looking at sooner that maybe got displaced by COVID?
I think the bottom line right now is making sure that business owners in Blaine feel like they are getting some semblance of consistency and that they understand where the city is at. And the city needs to be projecting and letting them know that we're here to support them and help them in any way that we can. Those businesses, that is what dictates where we're going to be at for our budget shortfalls or not. Are people able to work? Are people paying their property taxes? Are people out shopping and investing in our local economy? So we need to provide as much stability as we can as a city to our business owners to make sure they feel supported and that residents feel safe while they're here. So I think that the message is continuing to be out there and promoting, let's honor each other, let's honor those that are vulnerable, let's respect the virus, let's figure out how to live life to the fullest in the midst of all of that.
The mayor currently is retiring, and he's been there for a very long time. In what ways do you feel like you're similar? I mean, you've talked a little bit about trying to continue some of the things that he's put into place and has started along his long tenure. In what ways do you feel like you're similar and can do that? And in what ways do you feel like your leadership in that role would be different than Tom Ryan?
Sure. You know, I think the mayor has given us a great foundation. Blaine has a lot to be proud of. Blaine has a tremendous opportunity in front of it, I think, because of the work that the mayor has done. And we're grateful for that, and we want to honor his service. We know that Mayor Ryan loved this city, and he loved the people in this city, and he poured his heart and life into making Blaine the best place that it can be. You know, I think I bring a lot of energy and passion to the table to take what's there, and let's continue to promote it to the next level. You know, I think I bring some energy to the table, and I think that we'll go out there and we'll pursue and help be, you know, the best representative and advocate for Blaine that we can be. I think Blaine can be a powerhouse, not only here in the North Metro, but in the Metro in general. And so I think it's time for us to just take that next step. And we have the foundation to do that, and now it's just up to the next mayor, and I think I can bring those attributes to the table.
What do you think that Lexington Avenue corridor is going to look like 5 to 10 years? It seems like that's obviously undeveloped, much of it undeveloped, and there's some things already in place there, certainly some housing, but what do you think that's going to look like looking 5, 10 years down the line?
Yeah, I see a great mix of amenities, and again, I think it's a great location for some of those biotech, medtech type companies there, where we can mix in some boutique restaurants and some nice shopping as well, and really create a really good opportunity environment for businesses to want to be there, for workers to be excited about where they're working and the amenities that they have options to, and all of the different opportunities. That corridor is really set up well. We have the sports complex and some great housing that's going in as well. So I think cohesive, comprehensive development, making sure that the development does make sense, that we try to keep the residential, that we keep the industry, and that we mix in the amenities well, so that it feels cohesive and that there is a plan and a strategy to make it look well and work well together. And I think it can be done, and I think it'll be a real prize for our city.
Okay. Tim Sanders, candidate for mayor in Blaine, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, and really appreciate the opportunity, and just want to ask every Blaine voter for their support. And you can find and learn more about me at timsandersformayor.com. Thank you.
Thank you.